Hello, this is Tony Heller from RealClimateScience.com. The press is claiming that Australia tied their hottest temperature on record last week. On January 13, the temperature peaked at 50.7 degrees Celsius, 123.3 Fahrenheit, in Onslow, West Australia. Remarkably, the town sits right next to the ocean, which usually provides cooling. If confirmed, the Onslow temperature would equal Australia's hottest on record set in South Australia in January 1960. This is fascinating climate news, except that it isn't true. As of 1995, the Australian Bureau of Meteorology recognized that the official high temperature record in West Australia was 50.7 degrees Celsius, set on January 22, 1906 at Eucla. So the temperature was just as hot at Eucla in 1906, and Eucla also sits right on the ocean. If you're getting downslope winds off the desert, it doesn't make any difference that you're located right on the edge of the ocean. On June 17, 1859, Santa Barbara, California, which sits right on the cold Pacific Ocean, reached 133 degrees Fahrenheit or 56 degrees Celsius. Like the warm weather in Australia last week, this was caused by downslope winds coming off the desert, which produced the extreme heat. But let's turn our attention back to Australia. The newspaper article claimed that the hottest temperature ever recorded in Australia was 50.7 Celsius, tying with this one in South Australia in 1960. But it was much hotter in Queensland in 1889, it was hotter in Victoria also in 1906, and it was much hotter in New South Wales in 1877. The Australian government created these records by hiding all of the temperature data prior to 1910. The New South Wales record of 52.8 C was set at Burke in 1877. Burke used to get a lot of days over 120 degrees Fahrenheit or 49 degrees Celsius, but the last time it occurred was in 1906. So by hiding all of the data prior to 1910, they've erased Australia's hot past. The New York Times described the heat wave of 1896 in southeast Australia as being the hottest of hot waves on record. By erasing Australia's hot past, the government and the press are able to frighten the public about the future. Reality is that Australia just had their coldest year of the last decade, and there was so much rain that no parts of the country were in drought. This was embarrassing for the Bureau of Meteorology, which predicted in 2008 that southeast Australia was in a permanent drought. They can't predict the future, and they can't explain the past, so they simply erase it. Both Victoria and Western Australia set their all-time temperature records during January of 1906. And at that same time in 1906, the eastern and southeastern United States were also experiencing an unprecedented heat wave. 27 states, including Michigan, recorded temperatures over 70 degrees Fahrenheit, and 6 states were over 80 degrees Fahrenheit. You might think that climatologists would be interested to understand what caused the worldwide heat wave of January 1906. But apparently they're not interested, and instead of studying it, they simply make the inconvenient data disappear. Temperatures in the eastern United States this week are going to be about 40 to 50 degrees cooler than they were in 1906. These people aren't in danger of dying from global warming, but they are at great risk if they don't have access to a reliable supply of energy this week to keep warm. After listing their fake temperature records, the original article went on. Unfortunately, this extreme heat is becoming more common as the world heats up. This puts people in danger. But the actual data shows that death rates from natural disasters, including extreme temperature, are down 95% over the last century. Death rates from drought were extremely high during the 1920s. There was an unprecedented global heat wave and drought during 1921, which put millions of people's lives at risk. People who claim that the climate is becoming more extreme either don't know history or they're intentionally misinforming the public. George Orwell said in his novel 1984, "Who controls the past controls the future. Who controls the present controls the past." Toto understands that we need to take back control of the present, past, and the future, because it's currently in the hands of criminals and their useful idiots. You can visit him, Kyrie, and Caesar on the web at realclimatescience.com.